Good morning, friends, wherever you are, all over the world. And thank you for joining me for today's Cichlids and Coffee. Cichlids and a lot more, and coffee, maybe the proper name. So welcome everybody. Chris G in the jeans, Cat Sailor, Carrie Pitts. Let's see here. Tabarak Aquatics is here. Crawdaddy. Come on, Crawdaddy, you can always golf. Now you can catch the replay, buddy. But my boys are completely hooked on golf, so I get it. And Brian Hahn is here. Hey, Brian. And hey, GP. Glad you're here, buddy. And let's see who else is here, just to give some very quick shout outs while more people get onto the stream. Cat Sailor, Paul Newman, and Joshua Grozinger. I hope I pronounced that right, Joshua. And Joseph Taveri. Did I say Joe? Hey, Joe, how are you? From Staten Island. I've been to Staten Island. I've been over that bridge, and used to be called the Forgotten Borough. Is it still called the Forgotten Borough, Staten Island? It's the borough you hear the least about when they talk about New York. I've heard it's getting built up real nice, though. Hey, Sunder. Sunder India is here, and Special Disc. I don't know where you would have heard social discussing. I'm not sure where you would have heard that I wasn't going to be live today, but that's okay. You're here, and that's what counts. And some of you were asking questions about the pleco, the pleco 911. It's actually a pleco emergency. You know, a pleco 911 emergency, not a type of pleco, but you'll see what I mean when we get into it. And your questions will be answered. I have a short video, like I've gotten into the habit of doing recently. I have a short video for you that's going to walk you through the entire situation, culminating in a pleco 911. All right, Rocket Rod 56 is here. JD, good afternoon, JD, to you as well. And more folks are jumping on, so let's let them get on. And we will then get on with it. Gaia, Aquatic, and Pets. Hey, Gaia, Aquatic, and Pets. And let's see who else. Hey, John, good to see you there, buddy. John Wallace. Did I say hi to you, Peas and Haps Forever? If I didn't, I should have. And hey, Denny. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for posting the link on the Facebook group page. For those of you who don't know, there is a Facebook group called Ben O apostrophe Cichlids on Facebook. Check it out. It's a pretty good group. Country Strong and Free. Love that name. Country Strong and Free. Yeah, I caught my first live gun. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here, Country Strong and Free. All right. So I had a very, very interesting week. And hey, Fishy Dior. Fishy Dior just hopped on. I had a very interesting week, and I want to share it with you. Those are the, by the way, those names you see flashing across the screen are the Patreon supporters. Normally, I turn that on later, but for some reason, it's there. So, okay, a big shout out to the Patreon supporters, members of the Garage Gang. This is the Garage Gang. If you're a Garage Gang member, thank you so much. It's a way of contributing to the channel on a monthly basis and starts as low as $3. So, big shout out to them. A lot of what I'm doing right now in the fish room would not be possible without the Patreon support and without the support of the channel sponsor, the Cichlid Shack. And if you use the Cichlid Shack for fish, use the Shack Attack 15 if your order's over $100. So many beautiful fish, not just cichlids, all types, and plants, and meds, and food. Very easy to get over $100, and use 15% for fish discounts, and use Shack Attack 10 if you're buying other things like just meds and food. Big shout out to the Cichlid Shack. If you're new, be sure to hit that sub button. Let YouTube know something good's going on, and the bell and all that good stuff. and it really helps a lot. Keeps the channel going. It'll get us up over 50,000. That's the next big milestone is 50,000 subs. That'll be so awesome. So at any rate, we had it was an interesting week in that I jumped on some projects that were on hold because as you know, I left town and I was out of the country for 10 days, but I was able to finally get back and get in there. And hey, IFG, good to see you there, buddy. For those of you who don't know, IFG, Evan Alexander, check out his channel. A lot of good stuff over there. IFG, one of my original YouTube buddies. And you can watch some of his, if you like local fish store tours. I know a lot of you like those. He's got a ton of them on his channel. And I think he's been to every one in Houston, and now he's going to be going over and doing every one in Dallas. So. All right. So at any rate, I finally had the time to get into the projects that needed to be done, and I made some good progress. When you're doing the plumbing on a sump, I mean, there's the cutting of the pipes, and then you have to do what is called deburring, which is removing all the rough edges from the part of the pipe that's going to be inserted. That, for me, that's the hardest part. The cutting is easy. The deburring can take time because you got to sand it down, make sure it's nice and smooth. You don't want any little grooves that are going to create a channel when you push the pipe in place, and then you end up with leaks. So I got all that done, and I'll show you the sump. And this week, we're going to go ahead and we're going to fill this 300-gallon up. We're going to leak test it, and we're going to test the plumbing. We're going to run those C-shaped pumps, and we're going to set the water levels so that they're right, and make sure that the water movement is 100% perfect. And then I'm going to drain it down, give it another wipe down, and then start adding the substrate. And you'll see I've got a lot of substrate. Apart from the substrate, I'm going to be moving over from the 210. That substrate is coming over to the 300, but it's going to be a layer of substrate on top of the of about an inch or two of crushed coral that I picked up from Carib Sea. So let's get this back in place. There we go. All right. So I have a short video for you that'll go over with you what occurred. And then I had a situation with a friend of mine in town who is selling their house and moving and tearing down a tank. And he needed a home for the fish. Not planned, not something I had in mind. And what he offered to me initially was an older, very large blue acara. And you'll see that fish. It's behind me. You can see him swimming in the tank behind me. He's just a beast of an acara. I can get him on the. See him there, going up and down. He's pushing 4.5 to 5 inches. I mean, this is a beast. Just a beautiful acara. So, he asked, could I come over and rescue this acara? And of course, the answer was yes. Who wouldn't want a big, beautiful blue acara? But then when I got there, something different turned out to be the case, and I'm going to share that with you in the short video that I prepared for you. By the way, if you folks would like to pick up some swag, some t-shirts, and hoodies and all kinds of stuff. Of course, a hoodie right now with 100 degrees doesn't sound good, but there are some tank tops there too. But visit the Teespring store, and you can pick up some swag there. There's the link to the Teespring store. You can pick up mugs and all kinds of good stuff. And also, if you use the Amazon link to shop on Amazon, even if it's not stuff from my store. I have a bunch of recommended products at my Amazon store. But even if you don't shop there, if you shop anywhere on Amazon, but you use that link, it helps the channel. So there you go. The rest of today's program will be brought to you commercial free. So let's go ahead and get into this video. Let me just see how many folks are on, because what happens is people come on like after 45 minutes and go, oh my goodness, I missed the... Chris G, you're right. Isn't that a nice Akara? I hadn't seen one that large. I think I saw one that large at that store in Arizona that had that 20-foot long aquarium. I think they had an Akara in there that was about 7 inches or something. But at any rate, I couldn't pass him up. And he's living in there. He's got a very interesting assortment of tank mates. I'm going to share that with you in a minute too. But let's go ahead and get into this video for you that I put together. I think you'll like it. It's very rough and very raw. It's not like I did a lot of work on the lighting. I think I was in my pajamas in part of it. It really is a very raw walkthrough of the fish room. But let's go ahead and take a look at it, and you folks can tell me what you think. Hello, friends. Ben Ochart here. It's been a crazy week in the fish room. Very productive week, but still a bit of a crazy week, and I'll get into it with you now. First off, I made a lot of progress with the sump. I was able to get that sump pretty much ready for a water test, and I think it's going to get a water test this week, and I'll go ahead and show you what I mean. I actually was able to finish all of the plumbing. All of the cutting and gluing has been completed. So the plumbing is ready to go. All that's left to do is to attach some vinyl hoses to these sections here, and then that vinyl hose will go to the 2 return pumps. I have 2 Cichlids return pumps. So they will pump the water back up to the tank, going through this one-way valve back into the tank, and of course, then the water will drain down into the sump. You can see here. I'll go around the other way to get a better look at it. And inside the tank, you have these. I'll show you. These are the tubes that will allow me to control the flow inside the tank. I can direct it any way I want. It's called lock line. It's not cheap, but it's great. I'll keep it near the top of the water line so it can break up the surface, help oxygenate the tank, but also in the event of a power outage or something, it will really minimize any back siphon by keeping this close to the surface. So there's 2 of those, 1 on each corner. And let's go around over here. And you can see here's the sump. As I've mentioned before, the world's most simple sump. You've got the plumbing coming in and dropping into this enormous 7-inch sock. Both pipes, primary and secondary, are going to be going into one sock that'll probably be swapping out after the tank gets established, probably once a week. I might put something under the sock, maybe that bag of crushed coral that I have in the sump under the 210, just to bring over some beneficial bacteria. I'll probably throw it in there. Then the water is going to go through those 3 large Matin sponges from Swiss Tropicals. And then, if you recall, then the water is going to go over this massive amount of rings from Sarah. These are not just your normal ceramic rings. They have some sort of special formula, and they assured me that these rings are extremely good when it comes to beneficial bacteria. And I have those 2 Cichlids pumps, and through vinyl hosing, they will be going back up to the tank. So this sump is ready. It's a 40-gallon breeder. I'll be doing a water test this week. During the week, I got together with a friend of mine here in Nashville who is actually about to move. So they were selling off one of their tanks, and he wanted to get rid of the fish. And he asked if I wanted to come over and pick up a large Ochart, a blue Ochart. And of course, who turned down a blue Ochart? So I drove over there, and as they started moving to core in the tank to catch the fish, it turned out that they had other fish in the tank. Fish that they didn't even know, were not even aware that they had. Yeah, I'll show you some of them. That right there is a little, like a little whiptail cat. Really cool fish. There's also a Cory in here. Here's the little Cory cat. After a little bit of, after a quarantine period, I'll probably just put him in the 29 so we can keep the green lasers company. Even though they're different, I'm sure they'll hang out together. There's a keyhole cichlid. Seems to have become friends with the green tare, which was the only fish in this tank for quite a while. There's the blue Ochart back there being shy behind the plants. You can maybe see just his head sticking out. Fish called a panda back there behind the wood. These fish are all very shy, and that's why they didn't even know they had them, because the tank had a lot of thick artificial plants, and you couldn't even really see the fish. There's also a pleco in here, and he's probably under the wood somewhere. And you can tell I have a pleco because this is the trade-off when you have a pleco. Yeah, they clean the algae, but look what they leave behind. Oh, there he is. Massive Ochart, several years old. Big, beautiful fish. Nobody's messing with him because he's so big. I was told by John that the Keo is very, very passive, very shy, and he suggested I put him in the 29 community tank. That might be where I end up putting him. He does seem to be very, very passive, and if I see some fin damage on him or see that he's being harassed at all, I will go ahead and put him in the 29 gallon. This tank does provide a lot of hiding spots and places for fish to get out of the line of sight, so it's a good tank for him, but he might be happier in the 29 gallon. I'm not sure if he would eat that little ember that's in there, but he's a cool fish, keyhole cichlid, and for some reason, I don't know why, the green tare just hangs out with him. I don't know how that or why that's going on, but he seems to just kind of hang out with him. Not sure if it's friendship or stalking. Time will tell. So here's where it gets real interesting. I get home, I make the 40-minute drive back home with all of these fish. Keep in mind, I went out there to get like one blue acara, and I came home with all these fish. I get home and I get a call from my friend, and he says, hey, look, we moved a piece of driftwood in the aquarium as part of breaking it down, and there's a ton of baby plecos inside of it, along with mama pleco. And I don't know what to do because the tank is like broken down now, and he's got a son who's probably getting upset, a young boy who's afraid the plecos are going to die, and anyway, he doesn't know what to do. So I go, okay, look, put him in a bucket, go ahead and bring him on up. So he gets in the car and he makes the 40-minute drive, and he brings me a bucket with a piece of driftwood that has an entrance like at the bottom and at the top. Somehow it's hollowed out, and it's like a perfect pleco cave, and these plecos have been breeding in there, and so now I have a collection of baby plecos in a 5-gallon, what used to be a hospital tank. It's now Plecoville. So I don't know what I'm going to do with these plecos. We'll see, and I'll grow them out. Some of them were the size of like like a comma, like the size of a comma on a written page. So anyway, that very interesting situation, and I'm glad I had this free tank, and I could help them out with it. The plecos are super teeny, almost impossible to see on this black substrate, but you're going to have to take my word for it. There's probably 15 or 20 of them living inside that piece of wood right there. There's one of them. Not sure if you can make them out, right in the middle of the screen. Looks like a little tadpole. There he goes. See him wiggling? Where there's a whole bunch of those inside that piece of wood. They go in right through that little hole right there. So never a dull moment here in the fish room. Now I have a combination of fish I didn't anticipate, but I'm excited about, as well as a little pleco village that I'll grow out. Who knows what I'll do with them. Maybe end up giving them away, and maybe keeping a few of them. And an exciting week ahead in the water test of this 300. I'll keep you posted on how that goes. If you've ever set up a new sump, there's usually at least 1 or 2 very slow areas of moisture or leak, and so I will, so there's tweaking. There's always some tweaking that goes on when you first set up a sump, and to get it all sort of dialed in, and I'll keep you posted on how that's going. Then we'll go ahead and add some of the substrate. As you can see, I have quite a bit of it. I'm going to put a base of crushed coral to help with the KH, add some extra minerals. So I bought some Carib Sea crushed coral, so I'll put a nice thick base of that. I think I got about 160 pounds of that. And then I'll transfer over some of this substrate here. I'll transfer that, put that on top. And over time, of course, it'll all mix up. I know that. I'll bring over the rocks and maybe that plant. We'll see. Then I'll add some river. I've got some river rock that I'll put in this tank. Some beige river rock. And of course, I'm going to leave the sump behind on the 210. So I'm going to have a lot of beneficial bacteria already available for the 210. It's going to be very disruptive to move out all the substrate, of course. But what I'm going to do is add some Fritz-Zyme 7, and of course treat the tank and monitor it with water testing until I know it's pretty stable. And then I'll bring over the fish that I want to bring over from the 90, and then start growing out other fish for the 210, like a lemon Oscar, red tiger Oscar, and fish like that. So at any rate, exciting times ahead. Thank you, my friends, for all the support. I can tell you completely, with total honesty, that none of this would really be possible without your support. the support of the Cichlid Shack, the channel sponsor, the support of my Patreons, and all of you who have taken the time to watch my videos and subscribe. So thank you so much for all that. And that's it. That's the update on the fish room. Bye-bye. So there you have it. That's the update, and I hope you enjoyed that. And GP, you had some concerns about the sock. That is the way the socks are running on the 210, and they're working perfectly. Depends on the water level. If the water level goes in the sump itself, it gets high enough, the entire sock, of course, is going to be allowing water to get through. So no need to worry, my friend. And if it didn't work for any reason, of course, I would swap it out and maybe divide it up into 2 socks. But right now, the idea of just swapping out one 7-inch wide sock once a week was much more appealing than having to swap out 2 twice a week. And so we'll see. We'll see how that works. Hey, Jerry. Jerry's Fish Room is here. And today's coffee cup actually is courtesy of Jerry's Fish Room. You can see the logo on it there. Jerry's Fish Room. Check out his channel on YouTube, and also check out Brandon, the blind fish keeper. It looks like the two of them are doing a project with his fish room. Go check those out, and I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. Oh, yeah. So, any comments, ideas, thoughts on what's going on so far? I am open to ideas, of course. I always read and take to heart what you say. I'm going to go ahead and look at your comments right now in the chat, and things are taken into consideration. Pleco's not worth the trade-off. Social distancing. There's you can make a case for that. You can make. I've never had. Well, I can't say never, but the longest poops I've ever seen, apart from a fish that was battling some parasites one time. But one of the largest poops I've ever seen is come from a pleco. How a fish can poop 4 times. I used to have a 5-inch green pleco back in California, and he used to pull along a poop that was 3 to 4 times the length of his body, so 15 to 20 inches. It was like a poop rope, you know. And it was like too heavy to like go into the filter, right? It would just lay on the bottom. So anyway, yeah, it's a bit of a trade-off. What I'm thinking of doing is probably rotating them around, maybe put them in the, I've got this little 8-gallon Horizon tank. It needs some algae cleaned up. It's got this real rich green algae. It looks like a little bit like hair algae, but it's a rich green algae. I think a pleco would love that. And there was a very small little snowball pleco in the group that was brought over to me, and unfortunately he jumped out and of the 8 gallons. So I'm gonna have to put another pleco in there and figure out how to seal the back of it so they can't jump. Let me take a look here at some of your questions and see what you have to say. And I'm showing about 77 people on the live stream. And let's see here. Trenton W., beautiful fish. Thank you, sir. Juan Virgil, hello to you, Juan. We had more people jump on here. Paul 165, or Paul, yeah, 165. And yes, that piece of driftwood was part of what was brought over to me. So it really was a big score. I mean, if you walked in and tried to buy that piece of driftwood at, let's say, the Aquatic Critter, you'd probably pay about $40. About $40 just for the driftwood. How much would you pay for that armored cat, the whiptail cat, for that Akara? I mean, it was like a tremendous score, just a tremendous score, and I really thank John for hooking me up. All right, so I'm scanning through. I'm cruising the chat and see what your questions are here. Dan, I don't know the growth rate of a frontosa. I do know that they can live 30 years. And the frontosa I had years ago that I ended up giving to Kevin Green, I I can't say grew that quickly, but um, so if you were to get some small ones and put them, let's say, in a 60-gallon, you'd probably be okay for a good while. Kind of a little bit like a clown loach. You know, a clown loach. People say, "Oh my goodness, your tank is too small for a clown loach. A 55 is too small for a clown." Yeah, but you know what? They get large, but it takes them 10 years to. It takes a while, so you've got some time there to prepare and get a bigger tank. So the fact that they live 30 years, I suspect they are slow growers, very slow growers. And the one I had was a slow grower. Sean is building a discus tank. Wow, that's going to be cool. Is it going to be tall and kind of like a show tank, not too deep, so that you really show off the fish? You know, I noticed discus tanks tend to be taller and a little bit not quite as deep as other tanks. Let me see here. Chris G, I have a cheap electronic gravel vac for my Oscar. For your Oscar poop, it works great. You know, I'm considering that. I know Ehi makes one. I've seen mixed reviews on it, but I think it's worth a shot. What I've been doing is touching up the tank by running a siphon hose through a fine mesh net into a bucket, and then I pour that water back into the tank. So I pour the clean water back in after capturing the poop in the fine mesh net, and it's been sort of working. Let's see here. I am cruising the chat. If you have a question, ask them now. Hey, Vibes Aquatics is on. Welcome, Vibes, another moderator, keeping an eye on things. Thank you, John, for sharing the links. I think you shared the Shisei link and the IFG link. Thank you for that. Peas and Haps Forever is happy that I'm moving the African cichlids into the 300. Well, you know, that time I spent out there with James over at the Cichlid Shack, we had a chance to talk about it a little bit. And when you look at the when you look at that trout, well, I'll take you over to him. When you take a look at the trout in that tank, let me see if I can get him on camera with this odd angle. You can see him kind of cruising across the top. I don't want to mess with the other settings on the camera, but let's see. Come on, trout, come on down. There he is. When you consider that trout can get around 15 inches, he's going to need a lot of swim room, a lot of turnaround room, and I'm just absolutely in love with that fish. He's just such an awesome fish. He's just a big torpedo of color, and he's very hardy, very robust, and so I'm just really liking him a lot. And so I want to. So he was kind of like the main reason, along with the encouragement from James. A couple other fish in there are still going to put on some more size. I mean, that Bucochromis spectabilis is going to get bigger. That hawk has a lot more growing to do. The sand diver, the livingstone eye, the Venusis, those are all going to be very big and beefy. They're going to be wide and thick, and they're just going to need a lot of room. They're going to need a lot of room. And I think that putting the Vieja and the putting an Oscar, a Jack Dempsey, a green tear, fish that get like that size, putting them into this 210. I think this 210 is going to be enough for a fish like that. And who knows? I mean, that combination of fish over time might need to be culled a little bit if things get a little bit wild and crazy. This 55 here is really just a QT. Oh, look at the firemouth is out. Oh, there he goes, went behind the rocks again. But there's the firemouth that's in there is just absolutely gorgeous. If I can catch him. He's coming out and eating. He's gonna go into the tank next door. Come on, buddy, come on out. Anyway, he loves to hide. Then of course in here I've got the two rummy nose and the keel. So they're gonna be in this tank for probably at least another 30 days or so. And then the firemouth will come over here to this 55. And we'll see what that does to that tank. Everything is going great in the 90 behind me. As you can see. Look at the size of that vieja. I think it was John. John made a comment about the growth of the green tear in the 55. I'm not really sure how fast green tears grow. I mean, he looks very very healthy, very colorful. He's eating like a pig. So I think I think he's in great shape. And maybe that's just how they grow. I mean, they get huge, and I think they live, what, about 10, 12 years or more. So he's got a lot of growing to do. I'm not really sure how fast they grow. I'm really surprised at the Venusis in my 210. Every Venusis I ever had grew really, really fast. And for some reason, this Venusis is staying kind of small. I was expecting him to grow even faster. Being in a bigger tank, I expected him to grow even faster than Venusis that I've had in the past, that I was growing out in 60-gallon tanks or in 100-gallon tanks. I figured in the 210 he'd grow like a weed, but he hasn't. Oh, there's the AC Hecali. You don't see that one too much. AC Hecali, beautiful fish. There's the Jack Dempsey at the bottom right. Surimanensis coming out. Of course, that Salvini is just kind of a showstopper. The two chocolates are doing okay. See the Surimanensis? They just chase each other. Any fin damage you see on them is inflicted by the other Surimanensis. Of course, there goes the Salvini, making me a liar. But Salvini just kind of harasses him, but doesn't really hit him, whereas the Surimanensis, they really go after each other. I've heard they're probably better in groups of 5 or 6. All right, let's get back to your questions. And it looks like we're almost up to about 100 folks. Thank you, Solar King Ronnie. Thank you for that. Yep. I think they're gorgeous fish. Mujahid the Magnificent. Love these YouTube names. All right, I am going through the chat. If you have questions, go ahead and ask them now. I've got some very interesting reviews coming up for you. You remember I went on vacation, of course, and some of you suggested, well, why don't you just get a camera? Well, I didn't go looking for a camera, but a company contacted me that makes security cameras, and they're solar powered, and they can be outside your house. They also can work inside. And so they sent me a couple cameras to review. So I'm going to put a camera here in the fish room that and test it. And you can apparently anywhere in the world, you just look on your cell phone and you can get what's going on. So I'll be putting one in the fish room and one outside of the house, just as general security for the property. And we're also going to be giving one away. So they're going to provide a third one, a third security camera that can be given away, and you can use it either outside using the solar panel that it comes with, or you can use it inside as a fish room security camera. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be a giveaway coming up in the very near future. Another giveaway that I have coming up is with the algae scrubbers. If you're familiar with Santa Monica Filtration, they make algae scrubbers, which allow you to harness algae. So what it does is it takes the nutrients that is contributing to algae growth throughout your tank, and really creates an ideal environment. So it consolidates the algae into one place. That reduces algae showing up in the rest of your tank, and allows you to then take that algae and harvest it and feed it to the fish as a nutrient. While it's growing, it's producing oxygen and it's removing ammonia and nitrates from the aquarium. So they're a little expensive. They're not cheap, and some people like to DIY them. I understand that it's a lot of work to do that, but at any rate, the Santa Monica Filtration ones are built like a battleship. They've sent me 2 of them. One of them for the 300-gallon sump, and another one that I can give away. So if you're interested in an algae scrubber for free, stay tuned, because there's going to be a giveaway, and an algae scrubber is going to go to one lucky subscriber. And moderators, unfortunately, cannot participate in the giveaways, because it would look like it was fixed. So you can't be a moderator. All right. Let's see here. Solar King Ronnie, I've never had to sex a pleco before, but now I'm interested in knowing, does anybody know how to sex rhino plecos? Okay, if you know about rhino plecos, folks, jump into the chat. You know, I don't think that this family was planning on breeding plecos. They just happened by chance to provide the ideal situation, a hollowed out piece of driftwood. So, you know, plecos they eat wood, right? So they have a place to hang out, to hide, to feel secure, to munch, and also to breed. So they happen to provide the tank. Look, I'm going to be honest with you, and I don't think John would care if I tell you, the tank was not in good shape. One of the reasons why they thought so many of the fish that they found were dead, they thought that little panda cat was dead. They thought the whiptail had disappeared and died. And they had no idea of all the plecos, because the tank was, a bit neglected. And because of that, these fish were able to hide and probably coming out at night. And but apparently, plecos don't mind a neglected tank that much, which is good, because they sure do contribute to the detritus and waste that can occur. Oh. Joe says, my green tear I bought in November as a baby is now 7 inches. Yeah, I think mine were a few months old. I think this one was a few months old when I got him. I mean, he was a baby. Now, that doesn't mean that that he isn't a runt. I mean, sometimes you get a runt, and I've had that. I've had fish that turned out to be runts. I'm starting to worry that maybe the Taiwan reef is a little bit of a runt, because protomelas tend to grow really fast. But if you look at the Taiwan reef, I'll swing you over there. If you look at the Taiwan reef, he is a bit of a runt. He's there on the, right by the plant, right in front of the plant. There's my Taiwan reef. And he's a little bit small for I would expect a protomelas to grow a little bit faster than that. He does have some veg in his diet. I do give some veg to these fish, so he's getting the right nutrients. The water quality is good. I mean, maybe because he's subdominant. I mean, that bicolor 500 is actually growing as faster, and bicolor 500s only get to about 5 inches. The Taiwan reef should get up around 7 or more. Now, Dan, don't give the moderators any ideas. Dan's come up with a workaround on how the moderators can be involved in the contests. Dan, I want you to do my taxes for me. At any rate, look at that Autopharynx tetrastigma, just such a beast, and that that tangerine tiger, he's pretty maxed out as far as a portomelis, but just a stunning fish. Of course, these fish are from the shack, and that little Lethrinops oculatus down there just continues to do fine. No fin damage. Nobody messes with him. And I'm continuing to, I'm continually surprised that you can have a Lethrinops in with these kind of fish, and it seems to be okay. Now, one of the reasons I think, look at that Malawi, look at that gar. Just a crazy looking fish. Anyway, one of the reasons I think that that both the fish in this 90 behind me and also the fish in the 210 tend to be a little bit less violent is because they are fed extremely well. They get they get piscenergetics. They get extreme, and they get cobalt probiotic. They get frozen krill. These guys get bloodworms. And I mean, they get a variety, right? They get veggie tabs, they get just a whole bunch of stuff. And so, I think when their tummies are full and the water quality is good and things like that, I think they're gonna, unless they get into breeding, I think they're gonna be kind of toned down a little bit. I used to think temperature had something to do with it, but my tanks are running right now at about 80, only because of the garage, the way the garage is. So the tanks stay right around 79, 80. My little betta tank is about 82 degrees. The betta doesn't seem to mind at all. And anyway, Dan Coate, by the way, Ben, my fish love the Sarah Food rocks. I like it. What I like a lot about it is their dedication to producing a clean product. And by that, I mean no fillers, no dyes, no preservatives, no soy that might be genetically modified, right? No wheat. So, I mean, it's just a real clean product. As a result, I've heard that their food contains less phosphates. All foods contain phosphates, supposedly. Their food apparently is some of the lowest, if not the lowest, phosphate containing food. And of course, we know phosphates can contribute to your brown algae, right? Your ugly algae, maybe even your black algae. Joe, I don't fast them. I don't fast my fish that much. I used to fast them for a day, a week. Instead, what I do now is I have a day where I'll feed them veggie products, whether it's Zoomed spirulina or some veggie tabs or things like that. And that sort of cleans them out, but yet keeps them eating regularly. So no, I don't fast them that much. It just sort of stopped being part of my routine. Sean is discus at 85. Yeah, I've heard discus like the hot temperatures. They prefer it warmer. They prefer it on the warmer side. Thank you, Sean. Yep, the Africans are doing well. Zen Ginger, thanking Chris. Now, did I miss a super chat? I thought I saw something pop up. Well, I didn't. Okay. So GP, yeah, I'll show you that. Hold on one second. I'll show you that sock. This is like the mother of all Look at this thing. Wear it like a hat. All right, burger up, burger up. Anyway, this is gonna 200 micron, so it's gonna catch a lot of detritus. And why did I add a sock to that new sump? Because I'm convinced that there's no better pre-filter, no better, even compared to the pre-filter. And you know, I love the pre-filters that you put on the FX6, right? The ones I get from Aquarium Co-op. But I tell you, nothing beats a sock. The sponges in that sump are really in good shape, and I can clean that sump, give it a good cleaning once a year, and that's enough. So the beneficial bacteria is just eating away all, whatever gets through there, but the socks are catching all the pieces, right? All the clogging pieces. So that's why I'm doing that. This is the final piece that's going to be going on. This is 10 feet of, way more than I need, 10 feet of braided hosing. And I'm going to be wearing this to Aquashella next year. Actually, I'm joking. I'm just getting silly. The reason you want that kind of hose is it doesn't kink. It's really hard to kink it because it's braided, and it just works really well. And then what you do is you slip it over those little devices, right? You slip it over the little I forget what you call that, like a little barbed end, and then you put the clamp. You put a plastic clamp on it, a clip, like a clip clamp, and you're good to go, right? And it's easy to work with. You give yourself a little bit of extra hose so you can move the pumps around. You can pull them out to service them. You can move them around, so you give yourself a little bit of wiggle room in there. So that should be great. So let's see here. Chris G, that piece of driftwood has been sitting outside and getting rained on and getting sunshine, standing up on its side. I'm going to do a very light sanding on it, and then give it one more power wash, and then I'm going to put it into the 210, and I'm going to put large brown rocks. Did you watch the video where I went to the quarry, the local rock supply place here in Nashville? They had a fairly inexpensively some very beautiful round river rocks. So I'm going to get an assortment of those, and I'm going to stack them over the end of that piece of driftwood. And then I've got river rock, very small pebbles, river rock pebbles, that are going to serve as the base. So you're going to have this mountain of rounded rock, and I like rounded rock that with no sharp edges, so that doesn't cut the fish. And so these rounded rocks holding down the wood, and so it doesn't float on me, and then working its way out of multicolored brown like river rock. If you Google Peace River, Carib Sea Peace River, and there's another river too that they use in their name, but it's a river rock. It's a small pebble river rock. I might mix a little sand in there, maybe some Carib Sea naturals, put a little sand in there as well. We'll see how that turns out. But I've got it's starting to take shape in my mind what kind of image, what kind of look I want in the 210 after I take all of the black, white, and gray aragonite and sand out of the 210, which is going to be a tremendous task, and we'll see how that goes. Country strong and free. You've just gotta lay it in a giant tub with rocks on it until it stops floating. And when you have a giant piece like the one I have, that can take a very long time. So ultimately, you just have to put some heavy rocks on it to hold it down. And over time, it'll become more and more saturated, and eventually, it will stay down. But right now, I'm soaking a little piece of driftwood that I found at the same time as that big one. Very nice little piece of driftwood. See it here? I found this over by a lake, and it's got this big chunk, this big rock on top of it in the sink, and keeping it down, trying to get it to get saturated. But I put it in the 55, and boop, it popped right back up again. So it takes a while. It takes a while. All right. I am cruising the chat. John Wallace, I've been mixing Sarah spirulina tabs and extreme cat scrapers for my L600. I'm growing out. The mix of both works pretty well. Yeah. I mean, does he have a nice plump tummy? Does it look healthy? Yeah, I'm a believer in Sarah food. I'm a believer in extreme. I love extreme too. And again, it's knowing a little bit about the background story and the philosophy of the food that makes me more a believer. I do tend to get a little bit skeptical when a company gets sold, like a company that is making a very good product, and the founder is still involved in the company, and then the company gets sold. So I know that the Extreme fish farm, I believe, is the fellow that started Extreme, and that fish farm, I believe, is selling the fish farm, thinking about retiring. And so, we got to keep an eye to make sure that the formula doesn't get changed. And like if somebody like Tetra bought them or someone like that, I'm not sure I would. I'd really look over the ingredients really, really, really closely. David Martin, doing some business with glass cages. You're not going to be disappointed, David. They do a great job. Rocket Rod 56. Looks like he's got a very nice project going. Has a 180 in the garage, while new paint and flooring goes in. Very, very nice. Vibes, I'd like to go to Aquashella, but I'm a bit tapped out from my trip to Europe and the expenses that I had to put out with the 300-gallon. Just to give you an idea, just the mat and sponges were close to $200. The plumbing and other items I had to pick up were probably another $200. A couple hundred that I invested in some of this Shisei equipment, which was a huge discount of what it would have cost me normally. Jay Wilson helped me out with that over at Shisei. And anyway, a lot of expenses that are coming up, and I still have to have some special electric work done for the so I don't overload the circuit and blow out after I start running those pumps. And the heaters of course absorb a lot of power. So short answer, no. I probably will not go to Aquashella as much as I would like. If they said they were going to fly me there and pay for my hotel and pay me to speak, I would probably go. If they offered a package to me, I would probably go. So let's see here. Hey, John, thank you for sharing the truth about owning a successful local fish store. I'm sure James Largo will appreciate that. Dan Coate, that Salvini is beautiful. He is beautiful. And he's not as much a jerk as I thought he would be. I know that can change as they get larger and their teeth get bigger. But for now, fingers crossed, the Salvini is behaving. I'm going through the chat here, folks. Social distancing, the rummy nose that I have are going to be added to a group of 3 that are in the 29-gallon. So I have 3 rummy nose in the 29-gallon. This will bring it to a total of 5. I think 5 is a good group for a 29-gallon. 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. I think they're beautiful. And the ones that I have in the 29-gallon, they're doing really well in there, and their noses have become like electric red. I mean, it's really interesting. Maybe because they got older, I don't know, but they look really, really pretty. So I love rummy noses. Oh, I think I missed some super chats. Let's see here. Patrick Maloney. Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate that. Contributions towards your 300-gallon. Thank you, Patrick. Very appreciated. Super chats, for those of you that are not familiar, are a way to throw a little money at the channel, and it is very appreciated. And I think there was one super chat before that I might have missed. Trenton W. Was laughing about something and threw a super chat at me. Thank you, my friend. And Peas and Haps Forever. I bought some New Life Spectrum Algimax pellets, which I mixed in with my Northfin and Sarah and Extreme, and they get that every day. That sounds awesome. And I used to rag on the New Life Spectrum products because of their formula, but they have improved their formula. I've looked at their food, and they have improved the formula. It doesn't leave as much cloudiness or waste products behind. And again, a great case for competition. When you're like the only show in town, or the one, one of the high level foods, you can, you got a little wiggle room. But other players like Northfin and Extreme came in on the market, and all of a sudden, these higher end food producers had to reevaluate their game and clean it up, and really clean up. I mean, when Sarah comes out and says, we've got low phosphates, we have no preservatives, no dyes, we have no soy in any of our food, and I mean, that moves the bar, up, and we end up with healthier fish. Crystal River, Carib Sea Supernaturals is beautiful. Yeah, Sean, that's what I have back here. And it might be Crystal River, and there's also one called Peace River, 2 other types of that are really good for your South Americans. They don't do anything to the pH, as opposed to aragonites and things like that. Even though I might add just a little bit of crushed coral, because my KH out of the tap is so low that a little bit of mineral is not a bad idea in my situation. Tony Punch, I would love to see you make a podcast for Spotify. Not a platform I have ever looked into, but interesting. A TS True Star? No, you can't donate for that. Twisted. Let me see. Peas and Haps. Has anyone purchased Extreme a few times and had it be different colors? I know that they're always tweaking the formula. And are you talking about the flakes or the pellets? I know the flakes sometimes can be real green, and sometimes they can be more tan. And I kind of like it when it's a little bit more green, because I know there's a little bit more veg in it. But yeah, I think they're always tweaking the formula. Yellow Spy, are Sarah Medicine products good? I'm not sure how many Sarah Medicine products you can get in the U.S., Yellow Spy. Not sure if they have opened up that market here in the States yet. What I saw a lot when I went to Ireland, what I saw a lot was the JBL product line. Apparently that's really big also in Europe. Hey, KG Cichlids. How you doing, buddy? Glad you're here, and hope you're doing well, and your fish are doing well, and your daughter's doing well, and all that good stuff. Glad you're here, and it's okay if you're late. You don't need a note. I understand. It was actually on Kevin's suggestion that I move the live stream from 10 to 11 because 10 was a little bit brutal for my friends in California. I'm getting them up at 8 a.m. on a Saturday, a day of the week where they can actually sleep in. So, Yellow Spy, I'm from Europe. Forgot. Yeah, you should be able to get a hold of all of it. And you should take a look at the video, Yellow Spy, the interview with Sarah, and maybe John, GP, one of the moderators, you can share that video, my interview with the Sarah reps, and I think you'll be impressed. The research that goes into their meds is and their science team is just as dedicated to the meds as they are to the food. So I think you'll like their meds. I haven't tried them yet, only because I haven't been able to get them. And I do like Fritz meds, and that's what I've been using here in the States. And I've also used API, General Cure, and in particular, right? And so API and Fritz have been my two go-tos. Erna Petri, hi everyone. How long can you put fish on a diet in a 240 tank? Now, my first question would be, why are you putting them on a diet? Are they too fat? Are you trying to get them so that they'll fit into their summer bikinis? I'm not really sure why you'd put them on a diet per se, but if you think about it, if you're talking about African cichlids, a female will hold for over 20 days, right? 20, 21 days will hold her, a brood in her mouth and not eat for that entire time. One of the reasons that people will get the female to spit out the eggs and put them in a tumbler is so that the female doesn't get so weak from not eating for so long. But so 3 weeks, 4 weeks, these fish can go without food. Now, that's not an ironclad, right? It's a fluid situation. If your fish are already lean, if you've been already feeding them real light, they're not going to have the reserves, perhaps, to do that. If your water is lacking important minerals, that's why I add trace minerals like Malawi lake salt to my aquariums. They need to have those minerals. If your fish are lacking in some nutrition area and you put them on a fast, chances are they're going to become weak and possibly die on you. But if they're well fed and they're nice and healthy and have a nice full belly, you could probably go 3 to 4 weeks. And if all I had were large cichlids, large African cichlids, and I'd gone away to Europe for 10 days, I might have just let them go. I mean, they probably would have been okay. They would have been ornery and not in optimum condition, but they could have easily survived for 10 days. I would have much preferred having somebody come in and look in on them and feed them. And next to that, I would have used auto feeders to at least once a day drop some pellets in the tank. Peas and Haps Forever, my local fish store carries both Sarah and JBL. That's right. And the JBL packaging looks a lot like Tetra. Looks like Tetramin, doesn't it? I noticed that over in Europe. I go, oh, these are Tetramin colors. Some of the contents, Yellow Spy, some of the contents in API General Cure, I think are no longer available in Europe. From what I understand, they're cutting back the ability to use antibiotics. I don't know why. One of the comments was people were going in and buying fish antibiotics and taking them because they were less expensive than human antibiotics. Another rumor is that drug companies, they want to control that market. And so if you want any kind of antibiotic currently right now, I guess in the EU, you need to either go through a vet or do something like that. But I remember going to a talk that was given by Corey from Aquarium Co-op. He talked about how in Europe a lot of folks are now using salt as a primary first line of defense. So they get a fish and it's showing some kind of signs of something. They'll put them in a salt bath, with at least a tablespoon for every 5 gallons of water. Put them in a strong salt bath for a few minutes, and then take them out and see if that helps. But there may be a point where you're not going to be able to get any antibiotics in Europe, and maybe that'll start to trickle over here to the States as well. KG, the fish are doing great. The red cap lost color. What? Not sure if he's submitting to the red shoulder or other Lethrinops, but I still have the red cap fry in a 10-gallon. Wow. Well, you got some fry out of that red cap. That's awesome. Very awesome. And yeah, that could be a subdominant issue. And could be a variety of things. I mean, how old is that fish now? I mean, he might be winding down. I don't know how long those red caps last. But, I mean, some of these fish, they last like 5 years. And, you have them for 4.5 years. They start to dwindle. They start to, go on the downward cycle of their life cycle. And they start to look broken down a little bit. And people get all worked up and they medicate and they get worried. And it's just like the fish is reaching the end. But I don't know. I don't know how long the red caps live. I mean, he's probably still got a few more good years in him. Let's see here. Chris G, feeding is the best part of keeping fish. I gotta agree with you, which is one of the reasons I don't have auto feeders right now. I have a couple auto feeders in boxes, and for 2 reasons. One, I love the interaction. And every morning I get splashed by the 210-gallon. They splash me. I got to wipe down the front of the tank. But I think it's hilarious. I enjoy it. And it also gives me a real good gauge on how the fish are doing. I get to see if some fish are being extremely subdominant where they're not going to eat because they're afraid to get into the mix. And then they start to get weak and skinny. So I also change how I feed based on, like if I see a fish that's hanging back, I might feed to both ends of the aquarium, like far left, far right, just so that everybody has a shot at it. It really is an important part, I think, of the fish keeping experience is watching them as they eat. If you watch it didn't get that much viewership. It surprised me, probably because saltwater is not my public necessarily, is not a saltwater public, but there's some feeding going on in that saltwater aquarium video on Seahorse Aquarium from Ireland. And, he talked about the fellow that was feeding him from Seahorse was talking about the importance of observing when you're feeding. And he had a really interesting saying. He's saying, look, we keep water. And if we keep water right, the fish do great. We're actually water keepers. Interesting philosophy. He also had an interesting philosophy. He had an interesting philosophy on quarantine. He said that I asked him, do you quarantine for a minimum of 1 month? And his response was, I quarantine up to the point where the fish looks right, is going after the food, eating well, looks strong, good color. And that's when we put them in. That's when we put them into the population, into the main tank. It's not tied to a date. It's tied to the way the fish is acting, and I thought that was pretty sensible. So he says, look, if after 2 weeks that fish is looking great and attacking the food and nothing looks wrong one bit, he goes into the main tank. If after 6 weeks he's still too shy, not eating right, he doesn't go into a main tank. So they're using a little bit of common sense there. Now, I know some diseases can take a while to show up, so that'd be my only concern on that idea. But he was pretty sensible. Those guys at Seahorse, they know their stuff. Yeah, peas and haps forever. I feel the same way. The water puppies, right? You feed them and they get you all wet. And there was a famous video on YouTube. And yeah, Steve Edwards. I'm glad I got to the Seahorse as well. I've got one more installment, the behind the scenes video from Seahorse. So be sure to tune in on that and tune in for that. You like it. There was a famous video on YouTube for a while of a guy that had, I believe, a doveye. And this was a big doveye, right? And the video was my morning routine. So he would get dressed for work, go downstairs, open the tank, and then get splashed, and then have to go dry himself off. And I mean, like a wave of water would come cascade. The video was like 2 minutes long, and it had like, I don't know, 3 million views or something. My morning routine is a doveye or a jaguar or some massive fish. Joe, Ben, how do you feel about quarantine without meds? I don't use meds during quarantine. I watch the fish. If I see something that looks like it could use meds, I will. I do respect Corey, and I know Corey quarantines. He does get fish from far away, like the Orient and places like that, right? And who knows what they bring in? Who knows what parasites they might have? But when I buy from a local breeder, or I get fish from the Cichlid Shack, I put them into a QT tank and I watch them. And if they don't show signs of anything, I keep them in there for roughly about a month. And I don't give them medication automatically. I do think that the overuse of antibiotics does create superbugs. I have a theory that there is a kind of ick that's going around right now that is very, very tough, and it's the result of so many meds being used. Just a theory, just my idea. And anyway, that's my 2 cents on it for what it's worth. You see it in human medicine. People go in, they have a sore throat. The doctor doesn't test to see if it's bacterial or viral and gives you antibiotics. If it's viral, the antibiotics do nothing. And this is one of the reasons why you occasionally hear about things like flesh-eating bacteria that doesn't respond to antibiotics. I mean, that's horrifying. And very often they have superbugs in hospitals, right? And it's this constant, these things are mutating and becoming stronger and stronger as we bombard them. And so anyway, that's my video. I mean, that's my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents. Don't quote me. Harry Bowman, it's always fun watching them huddle together when they know it's, oh yeah. I mean, you think, in some ways, yeah, my fish are my buddies and they like me and they always follow me around and it's all very cute. And, but I think, truthfully, they probably just think they're going to get fed. These fish were just fed. Here, I'll show you. There's the evil eye. These fish over here, let me go over to, whoa, right there. Okay, let me back up a little bit. These fish got a very good sized meal this morning. So watch this. They're just pigs. They're just pigs. Little piggies. I could throw a cup full of frozen krill in there right now and they'd devour it. Just simply devour it. So, anyway. There you go. Yeah, let me see. Chris says that Corey sells fish and probably don't like to take chance. Well, yeah, and also keep in mind he imports them from all over the world, and we don't know what kind of, resistive diseases might come in. What kind of parasites are being imported from, Taiwan or, who knows, right? So he's smart. He's smart. He bombs them with a trio. I think he even sells it as a medicine trio. And I think it's a smart move in that kind, in that kind of business. All right, John Wallace, time for another cup. No, we're not going to go another hour, John. As it is, I'm 20 minutes over. What's going on here? At any rate, thank you so much, everybody. You folks are such a delight to interact with all the time, and it's really enjoy doing it on Saturdays. And it's just something. I just want to thank you. Thank you for that hour that you spend with me. I know that everybody's busy, and I really appreciate when you cut out time and spend it with me on Saturdays. So thank you so much. Hey, Zen Ginger. Good to see you. And thank you so much for showing up. And a big shout out to my moderators. Big shout out to the Cichlids Shack and to Aquarium Co-op for all the help and backup. And be on the lookout for a couple fish profile videos that I'm going to be posting. The third installment of the behind the scenes video of the Seahorse Aquarium, and also some product reviews, including a fish room camera that you can access with yourself from all over the world, and also a giveaway on a Santa Monica filtration algae scrubber and a fish room camera giveaway. Both these are going to be coming up. So stay tuned, my friends. A lot of fun stuff. And also I will be filming a fish room update when I do the water test on the 300. And that should be occurring, if not tomorrow, probably by Tuesday of this coming week. I'm going to fill up that 300. And I've already told my wife to keep an eye on the water bill. She was complaining the other day about how the utility rates have gone up. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh boy, wait till she sees what's going to happen after I fill up that 300 and get it running. Oh, thank you for your super chats. That helps. All right. Peas and haps forever. Cichlids and suds. We might do a Cichlids and suds in about 2 weeks. We'll do another Cichlids and suds. And I love the Guinness logo for that. I hope the Guinness attorneys don't contact me and try and get something from me for copyright infringement. Actually, I'm promoting their brand, so they should be thanking me. So there you have it, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye for now.